the president's been in a bookstore lately, but the fact of the matter is that Leon Panetta has just joined the pylon of former administration officials that really, to me, especially right before midterm, never mind that he has 2 more years left, have done some real damage in kind of undermining the president. Is this out of the norm?
Yeah, given that Panetta himself is a career politician, to not wait until January to release the book. I mean, I don't know if his publisher said, look, this is where you're going to maximize sales. But this is a guy who's been a pretty loyal Democrat since he became one in the 70s. And for him to come out with this book before the election, I think, is a little surprising. The book is not. The book reflects Bob Gates' criticisms that are very similar in that sense.
Right. We have heard, I mean, and Hillary Clinton, I mean, everybody just sort of backing away from this.
Oh, well, I think there's a big difference between Hillary's book and Panetta's book. If you actually look at, like, what she talked about, she talks about going from a team of rivals to an unrivaled team. There's big distinctions. And I think the issue with Leon Panetta is, first of all, there's a public record of everything he said about Iraq and Syria, and there are differences between what he says in the book and what he said at the time.
Which is kind of immaterial to what it does to the
No, and I hear,
right now,
let's be bipartisan. I agree with Newt that I think it's also just we have forces in Iraq now. We're sort of engaged in this military engagement. To me, it's very unseemly to be kind of Monday morning quarterbacking all these decisions when we have troops there, and he was the Secretary of Defense.
And maybe they're trying to push him, though. I thought with Panetta, of course, it wasn't a book written a while ago, that he was, you know, there was a certain element of, you know, get tough, step up.
I think you're being generous.
All right.
I think this is all about self-serving politics. I think this is about making money off publishing commitments. I think that's what this is all about. It's not uncommon for people to do this. Every president has someone from the administration at some point
McClellan did it.
step
and
out. Yeah, but oftentimes they're lower string people. I mean, when David Kuhl writes a book about, you know, George Bush and evangelicals, it's very different than a high-ranking cabinet official.
I think there's a lot of legacy protecting here, from Hillary to Leon Panetta to Bob Gates. And you have to remember, while President Obama can say, well, sure, maybe we made some mistakes over here on foreign policy. Look at what we did with Obamacare and the economy. Leon Panetta and Bob Gates lived in this national security foreign policy world. It is a direct reflection on them. And I think they want to protect themselves and their legacies on some of these singular failures in particular.
But they shouldn't do it at other people's expense. And I think that's what's obscene.
Part of this may be more than ego. You have with Gates in particular, but also to some extent with Panetta, people who see themselves as public servants, not elected officials. And I think that they are genuinely, deeply worried about exactly what John McCain talked about. I mean, I think that when you have 2 back-to-back secretaries of defense saying to you, this is a mess, I think there's something profound about what the administration is doing wrong that's in those 2 books.
Just a minute ago, you were saying he was a career Democrat, though.
Right. Well, he is a career Democrat, but the truth is that in their interviews they go farther than that, and they talk about ISIS, and they have been sort of pushing at him.
They were very clear, both of them were very clear that they were frustrated, that they thought a lot of these decisions were being made from a political point of view and not from a foreign policy perspective. And that, for someone who lives in a national security domain, must be pretty chilling and frustrating.
But Leon Panetta he was on the record in Iraq saying we need the agreement of the Iraqi government. And now he's saying, no, I didn't say that. But I'm saying he has testimony after testimony after testimony.
Exactly.
And he's rewriting history now in his book.
This is the most disgusting example of Monday morning quarterbacking I've ever seen. Everyone
but
thought
you don't know what he was saying behind closed doors. And, you know, because they have to come out and say, I mean, you know, your defense secretary is going to come out and go,
No, but the fact is, everybody who was deeply involved in that, except the administration, says over and over again, they could have had a deal, they could have worked it out.
But they didn't.
That the difference between this president's non-involvement and George W. Bush's involvement was stunning. And that's what I think both Gates and Panetta are saying is, you can't try to lead the world occasionally between golf courses.
right.
Oh, my God.
Right.
Oh,
I'm sorry, but I can't give you a chance.
There's the red herring.
Look,